Hello, hello, and welcome to Behind the Pulpit. Maybe you're eating lunch on your lunch break. I don't know. I'm still a little hungry, let's be honest. But maybe you're watching later on. Thanks for tuning in. So today, maybe I'll just take a little snack from Bob over here. All right, Bob. So he wants to get on the screen here. So we got Pastor Bob here. Got a couple new guests here. So we want to introduce each other.
All right, we can say, hey, you know what? So that was a fabulous open. Can I say, by the way, we'll bring Rachel back every week to open up the
well,
the
we'll
podcast
see about that.
Here. All right. Well, yeah. So my name is Bob Erbig. I'm one of the pastors here at NBC, and to my right we got.
Hi, I'm Lenore Tossi, and I help with the children's ministry.
And I'm Rachel Rickershauser, Director of Children's Ministries. And Bob, who do you got here over here?
Oh, this is Groot, little baby Groot. There he is. I am Groot. Okay, we're gonna bring him in a little bit later for the news section. So let's not, he's just gonna hang out. Okay. I heard Rachel's bringing a sloth next week, so just be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, one of these days I'll bring my sloth in. Yeah, we'll see.
It's slow to get over here.
Yeah. Takes a minute.
Alrighty, so let's get on with the show here. What do we got? How was your week, by the way? Was it good?
Good week. Yeah, good weekend. The weather started finally turning.
It was very warm today.
Spring. So this whole weekend just enjoyed some time outside with my kids. How about you guys?
All right. I did the same as well. Took a few walks. I'm excited that the weather's warming up. And today was even better. I don't know. What do you think, Lenore?
We had a great time yesterday. We actually got to go to the Natterar Park for the first time. I've heard a lot about it.
Oh, you've never been?
I've never been.
Have you seen it, at least driven by it?
No, because...
Where is it? I don't know.
It's over by the DePiros in Gladstone, or
okay.
PPAC, or whatever
That's
that is
really
over
nice.
there.
Oh.
We're 5 minutes away from Duke Farms, so usually
Gotcha.
we kind of walk over there.
There's this restaurant at the top of Natterar. I forget what's the the name of the restaurant?
Was it 90 Acres?
90 Acres. That's right. Yeah, I've never been, but maybe one of these days. Let's make it a
nice
first.
Place.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. All right. So what's coming up here? Let's move into the body life section and talk a little bit about some exciting things that are happening here at NBC, so people are in the know.
All right. Yeah. Well, I was here last week, but I just can't help myself. Got to mention Awana again. And Lenore, I know you and I both have been excited about this, but can you just share a little bit, like, why are we so excited about Awana?
We're just excited to, have the opportunity to really disciple the kids and just, have a multi-generational ministry during the week.
Yeah.
It's, and it's something midweek too, instead of just on Sundays.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's like another opportunity to disciple our kids at NBC, and then it's like you said, we hope and we long for it to be multi-generational, bringing in some folks who maybe are empty nesters or kind of beyond that season. Maybe they have grandkids and want to pour back into our NBC kids. But also a lot of parents seem really excited about serving alongside the team. So I think it's just going to be great. There's some, when I talk to people, there's an excitement about Awana.
It was surprising at the meeting to see even parents who had been through it before themselves.
Yeah, it's like if you have a personal connection, it's like those folks got pumped up. So that gets me pumped up.
Can you talk for just a second before we move on about what does Awana stand for? Because I've seen a lot of people misspell it. And like, what is that?
Yes.
It doesn't really tell me exactly what it is. Awana. Like
Awna. And let me see if I get this. So, Lenore, a workman's approved...
I know.
Not a good sign that you can't even explain
Can
it.
you look up 2 Timothy? It's based on a verse, and it's about the approved workman who's doing the work for Christ. So give me a really quick second to look up the verse, and then I promise I'll get it, okay?
A workman, something never ashamed. I forget what the second A is.
Yes,
right?
yes.
A workman always never ashamed, or
Approved.
something like that. A workman approved, never ashamed. There you go.
All right.
Awana.
The McLaughlins are probably cringing right
I
now.
know.
If they are listening.
Sorry, Rachel.
The McLaughlins are totally cringing right now.
You lost some chips right
now.
Is it
sorry.
2 Timothy 2:15?
Second. Oh, then.
Read
Hey,
it.
listen,
Read it
producer
for
Tim
us.
here.
Producer
He's
Tim.
on the headphones.
This is
Very
what
good.
Google gave me, so it's
Yeah.
the King James Version. Study to shew thyself approved unto God, a workman that
Wait,
needeth
to show
not...
or to shoe thyself?
Or not ashamed.
Shew, S-H.
Show, yes. Show yourself.
I'll get it in a better... 2 Timothy 2.
Approved
Oh
workmen
man, that's what
are
happens
not
when Bob
ashamed.
puts me on the spot. Okay.
Sorry,
Yes.
sorry. All right, we got it. So when is
Lenore,
it
say
starting?
Wait, just
Approved workmen are not ashamed. I almost had
Thank
it
you.
before, but then
Approved
Siri just
workmen are not
listened to
ashamed.
Bob and changed what I typed in.
Oh
so-
no, that was a funny moment.
Yeah.
in the
I was
sermon.
close
that
enough.
was really good. Yeah,
Yeah,
yesterday.
Bob, we're skipping to the sermon
Which-
for a really
the Siri,
quick moment.
when Siri was
Okay,
listening.
all right. Oh my goodness! So that didn't happen the first service. Actually, I was going to tell them to use the first service.
Oh no,
thing.
keep that in.
Yeah, it was.
I don't
so
even know
funny.
what I said,
Let's
and it
doing
was
it
just was
again.
like I was like,
It was
"Is
playing
that me?"
music. It was playing music.
It was playing music.
I thought
Wow.
you did it on purpose for a second.
No, I didn't. I didn't. It just started playing, and it was like a picture show of my kids.
That was
So-
really good. Anyway, so all that to say, we're excited about Awana, and it's just a great program. And you know, it's really Bible centric. Okay, it's memorizing scripture, but it's also like helping kids apply it to their lives. So that's why we're
Okay,
excited.
good. Well, you guys do a great job with that. We're looking forward. When is it starting?
Yeah, it is starting October.
Okay.
October
And
4th.
can I get involved right now, or do I have to
Oh
wait?
yes, we are assembling the team currently.
Absolutely.
So
That could maybe be you. You could be part of the of the new Avengers or Guardians of the Galaxy who run Awana. Guardians of the universe.
Yeah. So all right, Lenore, did you want to mention the young adults?
Oh, well,
exciting
what's
thing?
happening in my household is that my husband's very excited about doing a play called Baggage Claim. And he's trying to get the young adults involved in that. And he's going to be doing auditions at the end of June.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
Now, is it a baggage claim in an airport, or is there like another layer to the baggage? The baggage in our lives that
they're
we're
at a
claiming?
hotel. They're walking in with their
Hotel.
baggage.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I don't want to reveal too much of it.
Okay.
So.
All right. That will
It's
ruin
exciting.
it. Let's
That's
not do
good.
that.
All right, and then can they sign up online or talk to Steve, or how can they get involved?
They could email Steve.
Okay.
Yes. And probably
Great.
call the church office and get that information.
Okay.
All right. So
Great.
coming
That's exciting.
in the fall. We got a really exciting October coming up here in a few months.
Yeah.
No one can say we don't plan ahead at NBC. Okay.
I know people come up to me and they say, "Can I do this?" I'm like, "Nope, maybe January. We'll see." All right, we like to be prepared. Okay, so let's move into the next section here. So that was Body Life. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the news. This is a fun addition we've added in here. So do you mind if I kick it off? Because I've really been waiting to do this. So we each are sharing a little bit about a news item of things that are coming up that we're excited about. And as I mentioned, you probably know this last weekend, the new Guardians of the Galaxy opened up, that Marvel film. I actually got Baby Groot here down at the Franklin Institute. There was a Disney presentation down there, but my wife and I are finally going to see it tonight, so I can't reveal what happens in the movie.
Nice.
But the thing that I will say, the thing that I appreciate about the Guardians movies, and I watched the second one last night, is that there is a
Nice.
major family theme that goes throughout the shows or the different standalone movies. And I've read that it's a very similar theme in this last one because they're kind of bringing the trilogy to a close. And it had a big opening. So yeah, let's see. It looks like Gamora comes back. She's not dead. Drax is going to make some
That's good.
inappropriate
That's good.
comments, and you know, the other thing about that is Chris Pratt, who's known for having Christian faith. You know, when I Google this, it talks about Chris Pratt is talking a little bit about being criticized for that. So there's a lot of different faith themes I think that run through that series. But anyway, coming up, check it out. I'll tell you more about it next week.
No spoilers though, because I
No
want to
spoilers.
see it too.
All right. Well, you have a week, so make a date night.
Oh wow, only a week. All right.
What do you got? What's going on for you?
Did anyone watch the coronation? I mean,
My
I didn't.
mother-in-law did. She got
Okay.
up at like 3 a.m. to watch
Wow,
the coronation. She's that committed.
That is commitment. That's so cool. You know, it did bring me back to when Princess Kate married Prince William, because my roommate in college got up at 4 a.m. to watch that. So it brought me back.
Wow.
But no, I had a few friends watching it, and
Were they simultaneously commenting on it? They were doing live tweeting.
their
about
kids
the
were
coronation?
enjoying. Shout out to my friends. Their kids were enjoying seeing all the horse and carriages and stuff. So that's as far as I got. I don't get into all the drama with the Meghan and
Meghan
Harry
apparently did not go.
business.
Harry was there,
yeah,
but didn't
I'm
get
like-
any recognition, so he'll probably get
Too
angry
much
about that later
drama
on.
for me. I just gotta skip over that part.
It
There
is.
you go.
So, anyway, and then there was one other one you want to talk about, right?
Well, I just heard that China wants more babies. Yeah,
we'll just leave it there. Yeah.
Well, I think I just saw a headline on the newsletter that I read, and there was they had a low birth rates. I wonder why. Yep. Didn't they limit that many years ago? Yes. So now they're kind of reaping the bad benefits from that.
Yeah. Well, it's worth mentioning though. Yeah, they had a one-child policy for a long time, and China was a really notorious place where there was a lot of babies being terminated because of that policy, and now, like you said, they're reaping the benefits. But the other thing too, and this is not just a China issue, but this is like a lot of the developed world, whether it's Europe and the U.S. is going down. The lack of birth rate is ultimately going to have some societal problems when we're not getting into the replacement rate with kids.
Wow, yeah.
And I only speak for you and I, but Social Security, which we don't want to reform, is going to be a problem if there's nobody to be in the workforce. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Again, you got to think ahead, right? And China was not thinking ahead with that policy.
It is. All right. Well, you want to get us into the sermon?
Yeah, let's move into the sermon.
The meat of the show here today.
Yeah, man, I thought it was just really good. Unity and humility. Philippians 2. It's got to be one
desiring those blessings of unity. You're like, that's right, encouragement. I need that.
Man, and I think everyone. I'll speak for all Christians that we all love Philippians 2, right? Like with the hymn and the.
It is one of those go-to passages. What should I preach on? Philippians 2. Yeah. What's my proof text? Philippians 2. We always got to go there. Well, but but there's a reason for it,
Mm-hmm. I love that it was a song. Like, thanks for reminding us that, because they actually sang that, and I just think there is a power of singing those truths and singing scripture. I know some artists do that now.
Yeah.
I had one of my seminary professors, when I was doing my New Testament class through this, actually sang the verses in Greek.
Wow.
So I'm not that good anymore, but he got up there and was just bringing the luo.
And there you go. You still remember it. So.
Yeah, I do.
That's cool. All right. Well, what can you tell us? What are some behind the scenes tidbits you can tell us that maybe you didn't get to in your sermon? Or
yeah. Well, let me just give a quick summary of the message. So basically, Dave and I were going back and forth, and before he took off until whenever he's coming back,
September 1st.
He said, "You know what? I think I'm just going to do the end of chapter 1. Why don't you take the beginning of chapter 2?" Which I was fine with, because I really those first 4 verses I really like in terms of the unity piece. And I think they go together because, like I said in the message, the idea of being unified and being humble is connected with the hymn. So you could do a series where you just do the hymn, but I think the verses contextually go together. So we talked a little bit about humility and how the lack of humility is a problem in our culture. That's one of the reasons we're not unified, because we like to do the humble brag, which I think we'll get to in some of the questions here. Humility is the new pride, we talked about, and that's the enemy of unity, because usually we're complaining or boasting about things, and there's a lot of cultural things to point to that. So what Paul does in basically in the 32nd version in the passage is he gives us an expression of unity. What should it look like? That's verses 1 to 4. Then he shows us the song of unity, which is the example of Christ in verses 6 to 8. And then finally he talks about the mission of unity, which is the end of is the end of the section. And he's talking about the name of Jesus and how our knees are going to bow, and that's what we're called to go off and do. And so in the midst of there, we talked a little bit about what does that look like, and how do we get it, and how should it affect our lives. And we kind of ended with a lot of self-reflection. So that was the main 30-second high view of the sermon. So what questions did it spark in you?
Not a question, but I just like when you said about the Song of Unity, that it can teach us, it can help us to remember, and it can express emotions and beliefs. And I just think that music can do that. It's just really powerful.
Yeah. And that's why we sing every week, right?
So I think that's really important. I think that you think about the songs that you actually sing and you memorize, like they do have, and even the mood of the song. So that the key, is it minor, is it major? I had a friend who a long time ago said we never sing any worship songs in a minor key, and I said, you know what? There's really few. Because we just want happy and upbeat and 4 quarters time and everything like that. And there's a place for that, but there also is a time to lament and be sad and just express what's going on in our hearts. So music is very powerful, and that's kind of what I try to tap into with the theology of Philippians 2.
Yeah. All right, so the humble brags, we gotta touch on that, because that
all right,
I thought
let's
that was
do
just
it.
Like, wow, I think everyone could kind of relate to that, because you might be like, I've heard my friend do this before. Like, I didn't know this has a name for it. So
well, this is so let me just give a reminder, quick definition if you didn't listen yesterday. The definition of a humble brag is a boast hidden in a statement of humility. So I was talking with John Bonaventura about this after the service, and I said, it's kind of like somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, you're awesome," and you just go, "I know." It's like just bragging about stuff. But we said often it's covered in complaining about something, like, "Oh my gosh, it's so hard to be this," or it's actually boasting about something when it really should be pride. It's not humility, it's pride. So anyway, so the humble brag.
Yeah.
We all do it to some extent.
It's true.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it this morning when I was looking in the mirror. I just thought, wow, that message was really powerful, that humble brag.
See, I look really good today.
Those weren't the words exactly. Just keep my heart in check.
Maybe that's just what it did for us. Just made us think, made us think about our
awareness.
And,
It was really good.
But I guess
it's not for other people. It's for everybody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is true, too. All these sermons lately, I'm like, oh, no, point that finger right at myself.
Right,
yeah.
right.
That's a good posture to be in, especially the preachers. It's very convicting even to get up there and say that. So we talked a little bit about this unity flowing from a heart obsessed with the self. And I think people maybe hear that and they say, well, I'm not really self-obsessed. That other person is. But to some extent, that is the bedrock of sin in the Bible. It's about us thinking about ourselves, inwardly focused. I think Martin Luther has a famous quote about that. And others may be more self-obsessed than... Some people might be more self-obsessed than others, but it is a problem that we all deal with. And that's ultimately, I think, a thing that breaks us apart when we're not thinking about others. That's part of Paul's point here.
Well, I liked when you said God actually calls us to care for each other deeply. And I thought so much of us, we show care to each other, but do we show it deeply? Do we do follow-throughs afterwards when we know things are going on with people?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That's good.
I think, wasn't the point. It was like we sometimes skip that step, right?
Right.
So that stood out to me, too. Like,
and you can do your checkbox. That's for you, Pastor Dave, if you're listening. Check it off. But you want to go further with it.
If Dave is listening, first of all, that's a problem. But if he is listening, turn it off right now. But if he is,
he might miss us.
It's true. It's true.
I missed him seeing on the little preview beforehand.
Just check if it is. That's right. If it is, he probably just got really excited right now. So, although I like checklists too, I like to check things off. So I think. Maybe can we dig into that point a little bit about the so the expression of unity, what's required. We talked a little bit about the blessings that we like, so whether it's encouragement or tenderness and compassion, comfort from God's love, like we want that blessing, but how do we actually get it? And we talked a little bit about the problem is we don't define what unity is. And the two things that Paul highlights here that we drew out was the need to define a common conviction, to have core beliefs that we center ourselves on, and then secondly, to develop a common affection. And the two need to work together, I think. But a lot of people just do one or the other. They focus really hard on the theology, and if you don't get it, then I don't want to talk to you. Or they focus, secondly, they say theology is not important. Let's just love one another. And that's both of them are a problem. They need to work together.
That is getting really hard in our day, right? It's getting really tricky. There's that fine line. So can you remind me which of those words was koinonia? I just love that Greek word. I just wanted to...
Sorry, I used a couple different Greek words. So koinonia was actually part of the blessing section. So that is the common sharing in the Spirit, or partakers of the Spirit, I think other versions say. That's the word koinonia, which refers to a fellowship that's deep, a deep connection where you're known, you're cared, and you're loved. That's... Whenever you see often the word church in the Bible, it's often the word, that's ecclesia. Koinonia is when you see the word fellowship usually used. That's the word that's used typically.
Okay, thanks for reminding me about that. Yeah. Yeah, and...
Was it how did you say that one? Phroneo?
Oh, phroneo is the one that refers to being like-minded. And that's kind of having the same mindset, moving in the same direction, kind of being on the same page, essentially. That was phroneo, which is then again used in verse 5 about having the same phroneo as Jesus.
As Christ, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's always a good reminder about unity, that we need to, put first things first, like what are the most important, but it's not like we have to agree on absolutely everything. We do need to put ourselves aside, put our wants aside, but of course the needs in my eyes would be like the main theology. But then all the extra little, pizzazz on our opinions about things need to kind of put ourselves aside. And like you were saying, like we might not see ourselves as self-obsessed, but if we're being a little bit stubborn about something that doesn't matter as much, well, that's where I could see that being a problem.
Yeah. Now, here's maybe a little interesting take on that I was thinking about this week. And I said it in the sermon that I think more agreement on theology brings more unity. And I'll give you a couple examples. So one, maybe the gifts of the Spirit. So if you're somebody who says, the gifts of the Spirit are a secondary issue, but you're somebody who's not really into practicing like speaking in tongues and things like that, and you're at a charismatic church, okay, it's a secondary issue, but there are some practical implications with it. So you may have to, you may feel more tension in a place like that. Whereas if you were in a place that you totally agreed on some of the more practically speaking secondary issues, I think there might be more unity there, even though it's like there are reasons that we have different traditions, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah. So
yeah, and it's just a matter of if you want to put aside your preferences to be a part of that community, or do you want to be a part of a community that more aligns with your views? So. And nowadays, there's plenty of churches to choose from.
It's true.
There are lots of churches to choose from.
You want to be discerning, too, at the same time.
Yeah. All right. What other questions do you have?
All right. Let me see.
You guys want to talk a little bit about the song, right? The Song of Unity?
Yeah,
and you really latched on to the music piece of this.
Yes. I also kind of want to know what song was playing in your head personally. What's your song?
Great question. If I had more time, I was going to talk a little bit about the different genres, so whether it was country or hip hop or whatever. When I was in high school, it was show tunes, so maybe I don't know, maybe you were musical theater too. So my mom would always laugh at me for singing Music Man or Phantom of the Opera or something like that.
Yes. Oh, love it. Well, your phone was starting to play something. So.
It was. It was.
I
was kind of surprised. It was. I think it was just music. I don't remember what exactly came up.
Yeah.
I think I turned off Siri because of that.
Good move.
All right. So you wanted to? Oh, you know what? Did you want to ask something about the song?
I think it's just like I said, it was a cool reminder that they actually sang it, and then just how it was. I think I already said what I was interested in, just the fact that like it's so theology rich, and then they're singing it so that they're teaching themselves. They're kind of like preaching to themselves. But I love also how it's like really shows the nature. It's a clear teaching of the nature of Jesus, that he was both God and human. So I thought that's a really cool one.
So one thing I had to cut out of the message that I thought was really interesting, people when they look at verses 5 to 11 with the about Jesus and what he did and the name of Jesus and all that, they usually interpret it in terms of 3 different categories. So some people will just say this is just about theology, and they'll talk about verses 5 to 11 in terms of the theology with no regards to the context. So if you ever get into a systematic theology that's talking about who is Christ and all that, they'll typically go to Philippians 2, 5 to 11, which is important. We definitely can draw those things out of there, and we should. The second category people talk about is that of ecclesiology, where they are, and that ecclesiology is the doctrine of the church, is where they're taking into account the context of the Philippian church. And so, and we did a little bit of this in the sermon. Why was this song here? What was the context? What was going on? Why did Paul include this? And then finally, there's a psychological element in the sense that these verses are for individual application. Jesus died for me, he died for you, and he gave us an example of how to live. And I think all 3 of those categories are applicable in these verses. So there's a lot of layers and depth to them, and I think they're one of the sections of Scripture that we should meditate on pretty regularly. Because ultimately, as we said, Jesus' death is the one that can bring true unity if we're totally united on that belief, which I hope we are.
Yeah. And I just like how it ends with that, like you said, the mission of unity. So our purpose is to then go out and make disciples. So yeah, strong. Yeah. It's a strong song, strong ending to that song.
And then John brought out what a beautiful name. What a beautiful name it is. All right. So can I end on a funny note?
Let's do it.
Because since you said the humble brag was the thing that really kind of brought you in.
And on a funny note, I like it.
All right. So in the article by David Brooks, he gave 3 rules to fake humility. So here's something you can think about this week as you're at home. Here was the first rule about fake humility when you're thinking about the humble brag.
Okay.
He says, never tweet about any event or never talk about any event that could actually lead to humility. Never tweet about any event that could actually lead to humility. So, for example, he says, you could say, I'm humbled that I went to a party and nobody noticed me. I'm humbled that I got fired for incompetence. So never tweet about something that actually lead to humility. Secondly, second rule, use the word humbled when the word proud would be more accurate. For example, truly humbled to be keynote speaker at TEDx East Hampton. He says the key to humility display is to use self-effacement as a tool to maximize your self-promotion. And then the third one was my favorite one. Never use a pronoun.
All right.
Never use a pronoun. So he says, always start your tweets or whatever your message is to be humbled to be or honored to be. This sends the message that you only have a few seconds to dash off this tweet because you're so busy and important.
Yes.
So those are funny, but I think I would just end with saying, it is an exercise in being self-reflective in terms of where is my focus on myself actually creating disunity in my relationships. Mm-hmm. And I talked about, whether it's marriage or family or work or church or whatever it is, always ask, what's my part to play in this? And how can Jesus be glorified? And I think that's kind of the main thing that Paul's getting across. I heard one guy say, and I didn't want to steal this, but I'll say it here, Greg Gilbert, preaching on this passage, he said the main idea is that, how do you put it? Self-regard leads to disunity, and self-regard kills unity, I think he says, and then self-regard dies at the foot of the cross.
I remember that one.
It's something along those lines, but essentially, self-obsession is what's creating disunity.
Yeah.
But when you go to the foot of the cross, that's where self-obsession goes to die, and that's where the church and we all need to go. So.
I think Dave used that one a couple weeks ago.
He might have used it because he sent that message to me,
worth
and I didn't want to
to
steal it, but I kind of was inspired by what he brought out. So there you go.
That was good.
All right, so Tim, we're at the end. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah,
have you guys back
great.
again
Sure.
next week, maybe. Although I will say next week, so we're doing Philippians 2, 12 to 18. My wife and I are going to do a little bit of a thing for Mother's Day, and I think
That'll
she'll
be
be here
great.
next week. It'll be
Nice.
fun. So be on the lookout for that. That's 12 to 18 is one of my favorite passages in Philippians. So we're going to have some fun with that next week.
Great.
Don't grumble or complain.
Ooh, looking forward to
Grumble
that.
or complain. Verse 14, right? Yeah. All right, Tim, what do we got? What do we got to wrap this up?
Well, first, I'd like to apologize to everyone who heard me coughing back here. The histamines have been getting to me recently.
Okay, good.
Also,
were you very humbled to be able to say that?
Absolutely not. I was quite embarrassed back here. Also, I would like to tell our audience that, just as a friendly reminder, that you can also be part of Behind the Pulpit. All you got to do is scan the barcode that we have scattered around the sanctuary and on our announcement screen. And we'll answer your questions.
There you go.
We didn't get any questions this week, so this is me telling you guys to shape up and
okay, there we go.
We're
going to tweet about that.
Okay, so our theology sprint this week. I know last week I gave you 3 options. This week, I'm not giving you 3 options. I'm giving you one that I wished you picked last
so
week.
it's not even an option, man. You just tell me what I need to answer.
there you go.
I'm going to do my best. I can't
Put him on
guarantee.
the spot.
Okay,
I am on the spot. I have not heard this, so we'll see.
The theology sprint question for this week is: do the 3 Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, ultimately point to the same God, and that they have all interpreted differently?
Oh, that's a really interesting. So you're getting at the idea of the exclusivism question. So I would ultimately say they have their roots in the God of the Old Testament, but at the end of the day, they don't point to the same God because ultimately we think that God is 3 in 1. So we have Jesus Christ is the revelation of God, and both Judaism and Islam reject that. So ultimately, it's not going to lead you to the same place of salvation. And I would say a lot of people would say in terms of Islam, there was some deception involved in terms of the angel Gabriel coming down? Was that actually the angel Gabriel that came down, or was it a demonic force? That's what some people would argue. So the shorter answer is no, and I think we have to really think through that. The ultimate question in all of this that you have to ask is, who is Jesus? So Jews would reject Christ as being Messiah, and Islam would regard him as being a prophet, but ultimately neither of them would accept him as being God in the flesh. And that ultimately is the thing that divides us and divides so many things in this world. Who is Jesus? That's the question.
All right.
How'd I do?
Beautifully done, Bob.
All right.
He ended like Jeopardy. Changed it into a question.
Yes. And
All right.
with a question.
Well, thanks for being here for Behind the Pulpit. Thanks, Rachel and Lenore. You'll see them again at some point. I think Scott's here next week. But have a great week. Fun. Thanks for being here.
Take care.